After getting rinsed by the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC, the Pac-12 was broken, ruined. Only two teams were left behind, Oregon State and Washington State, the college that I'm rebuilding today. With new Pac-12 additions such as Boise State, Texas State, San Diego State. Basically, if your team has state in its name, it's got an invite. We've been gifted the Pac-12 2.0 starting next year, and I want to rebuild a team in it. The twist, though, is Washington State won't have long to bounce back and win a championship because I only have 5 seasons to pull it off. Along the way, I want to achieve great things here. One of those being having a winning record against Washington, who left us behind to join the Big Ten. The Apple Cup will be very important, but beating them out for in-state recruits such as Nick Qualls is also at the top of my priorities list. The issue with him, though, is despite being from Washington, he busted. We don't want anything to do with that, and he is preventing us from recruiting 3-star Jim Johnny Price because he cares about playing time. That brings up another problem, though. If I target a quarterback that cares about playing time, that's going to upset freshman quarterback Julian Duggar, who is going to be our future. He's a lefty, and his accuracy skill caps look incredible. This is the guy I want to roll with until he inevitably leaves Washington State. See, the real issue is the next great Cougar QB always seems to become somebody else's great QB, so we have to be able to retain them. Something that should help with that, though, is I don't care what Jimmy Rogers' real-life philosophy is. We're going to be honoring Mike Leach by running the air raid offense. And if we look at the rest of our starting roster, I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to expect all of our best players to leave like what typically happens with Washington State. Thankfully, I've left the transfer settings on default, so we can only lose up to 20 players a year. I'll be playing on the hardest difficulty, like always. And the last thing I want to mention before I get deep into this is I don't know how I never noticed this, but Washington State's logo spells out WSU, and it was created by a student. I thought that was pretty cool, but what's not pretty cool is Nick Qualls has already locked us out before I could even put any hours into him. He decided he did not want to stay in the state of Washington, but we're not going to have a chance on Johnny Price yet. Statistically, Kevin is a stronger arm than him, and he's a 4-star, so we're going to see if we have any chance at getting this prospect from California. As for some of the other recruits on the board that I'll briefly skip over, we have a lot of 3-stars from Washington I'm targeting, some 4-stars that I'm hopeful on, and a lot of receivers since we're sticking with the air raid offense. This kid's a gym, but he only has 88 speed. That basically lays out my whole recruiting plan for season 1 of 5. Our first game of the season is going to come against an FCS school, so we can simulate. It was certainly not pretty, though, winning 21-19, and in case you're curious, just to keep things realistic, this upcoming season, the Pac-12 is not fixed yet. It's going to take a year, so we're in the current Pac-12 with 2 teams. In season 2 of this rebuild is when I'm going to take it up from these 2 programs to the 8. And that's going to turn games against programs like San Diego State from out-of-conference games into conference matchups. Now, despite getting left behind in conference alignment, it's not like Washington State has been that terrible over the years. In fact, back in 2018, they were able to win 11 games. They've had a lot of seasons above 500. So I want to be able to maintain that level of success with them, which is why we're hopping into this game. In these 5-year rebuilds, I typically only allow myself to play 3 regular season games a year, so I have to build an actual good team. And from what I've seen through 3 quarters, this is going to be rough. Neither team's been that great offensively. I was just hoping freshman Julian Duggar was going to be a bit more successful through the air. At least he has finally gotten us on the board, though. There's still time to come back. But that is when the Aztecs have also opened up things offensively. And I just gave up the freest pass to a tight end wearing 64. This is going to be one of our conference opponents in the future. I can tell that they're going to try and scramble here. And I wanted to establish it early on that we'd be the dominant team. With where Julian Duggar's current accuracies stand, though, he just wasn't ready to go to a full air raid offense. We're going to lose this first matchup. But win or lose, Cougs booze. Our fan base is still going to make the best out of this situation. We got a long way to go in this 5-year rebuild. If I just scroll through the list of players that are at risk of transferring, there's already more than 20 players that want to leave. And the most annoying part about losing games like that is our championship contender drops, and it ruins our chance at getting some of these receivers. Like, we just fell down to 2nd place behind Washington on this 4-star gym. I have a risky solution, though. We schedule him for a visit against the Huskies in another week, and we take them down, which would get us a massive boost. If we don't win that game, it's not going to be pretty, but I am willing to take that risk. I'm actually really impressed with what Julian Duggar did against North Texas the next week. He had 4 passing touchdowns. We beat them 49-28. But when it comes to recruiting players, we are not having any success. We just keep on getting deal breakers. Apparently, this is not the play style that Kevin wants to come to as a backfield creator, so we're just not going to be able to get get him. Same thing with this center. Apparently, he doesn't want to come here. I'm just getting frustrated, but it is going to give us a chance to get quarterback Johnny Price, who is who I talked about at the beginning. He might only have 81 throw power and 55 awareness, but the kid's from Washington. And if we stand any chance at beating out schools like the Huskies for some great receiving prospects, we know what we have to do. That first game against San Diego State I hopped into didn't go our way, but I have to play much better because, like I said, I want the Apple Cup to run through the Cougars. This is a personal game for us. We need to make sure that we're the team running the state of Washington. How do you think we're doing in the first half, though? Here's a little spoiler. It's not been great, but we're going to pick up the 4th and inches and take a lead with 30 seconds left. That was very needed. Honestly, the way our defense has been playing has been okay. It's been the offense that still had problems. I mean, as you can tell, we're only about to score our second touchdown of the game with a few minutes left. It puts us in a really hard spot because we're going to have to get a stop on defense. And even though we've done well in this game, now that the pressure's on, the stop doesn't seem to be coming as easily as he just jumped through our tackle. You know, to have 2 guys here in the way and neither one of them even put a hand on that kid. It's very frustrating stuff, but we make a good tackle there. Here we go, 2nd and 10. They're running trick plays. It doesn't work. And I will be very interested to see what they do on 3rd down. As long as we knock that loose, we're good. I did not want them getting a field goal out of that drive, even if they're about to pin us back in a really tough spot. Whatever we do, we have to get this ball out quick. We cannot afford to take a safety. Julian Duggar is currently at 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. We're hitting our drag again, but that can't always be open for us. Sometimes we're going to have to look at other spots on the field. Ideally, with about a minute left, we're going to be able to stop the clock after getting out of bounds here, but we're going to have to get to the sideline. And that did not really work out, but we have a first. Time is running down very fast, though. We're going to go for our corner route, and we have a connection. The hard thing is if we even think about taking a sack or we don't get out of bounds, it's going to make it basically impossible to come back. But this was a very neat 4 verticals look that we got, and we're at the 22. I'm actually really curious if we can get a similar look like that because we were able to just split those zones. Underneath is not working out for us, except we break the tackles and we fight out of bounds. That was a huge difference maker. I probably should not have thrown the football there, though. I'm going to go for the 1st down, which was a huge mistake. 9 seconds left now. We only have a couple shots at the end zone. We're going to thread it in there, and he's short. Will we get a snap off? Come on, snap the ball, snap the ball. He won't snap it. We're going to lose the Apple Cup off of that. We were 1 yard away. Now all these visiting prospects aren't going to choose Washington State. This could not be a worse start. I'll tell you what, LSU is definitely going to get this gadget receiver. We can take him off of our board. I don't know how we still jumped over Boise State there, but Washington's going to get Jarvis Sawyer. We're going to have to face that kid every season. But you know what? That just opens up the door for us to target some other 4-stars with these extra hours. Now that we've lost the 2 games I've hopped into, though, I'm basically going to sim the rest of the season. Aside from making a few signings like 4-star wide receiver Franklin Moon, the season went about as bad as I was expecting it to. We're currently sitting at 5-6 with 1 more game in the regular season, but what I didn't realize was Washington State and Oregon State play twice this season. The Beavers are currently sitting at 2-9. We beat them the first time in sim, so I'm expecting myself to handle business here. And it's kind of needed because at the moment, if I were to look at the board, you're going to see a quarterback like Johnny Price committed. He's a 3-star. I can't get that excited about him. Most of the 4-stars that we wanted ended up choosing other schools like Washington. We keep on getting deal breakers on players as well, which is why Oregon's going to be able to walk away with that prospect, though they probably would have gotten him either way. We just got locked out of Kelvin Parker. It's another 4-star that we're not going to land. I knew our odds of getting some of those players wasn't very high because they're not factoring in that the Pac-12 is going to be revamped at the end of this season, but I did think we'd get a couple more than we did. And if we want to have any chance at winning a championship in this 5-year rebuild, it is crucial that we at least become bowl eligible in season 1. I was hoping by this time in the year we'd be getting a snow game in Washington, but instead it's raining. We stop them on 3rd down. And even the rain looks great in this stadium. We're going to have a chance to return this, though, kick a field goal, and beat Oregon State. We really don't need that much. I mean, you saw what we were able to do against the Huskies earlier on in the year. This is something I think Julian Duggar can easily have success with. I was hitting triangle and that button at the same time. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I saw a running back was wide open, but by the time I did, I was already midway throwing it to someone else. The sad thing about Washington State too is I was told not to talk about it, but they end up choking so much. There's an entire Wikipedia page about it. And that is exactly what just happened in this game, but we still have a minute to respond. After every single first down, it's like I'm playing with Kentucky. You get a massive Wildcat growl in your ear. I guess they are the Cougars. As you can see, pass interference penalty, it's gonna help. The more I think about it though, I should like Washington State. They're very similar to the Wildcats. I'm not a big animal person whenever it comes to knowing the differences between a Wildcat and a Cougar. They're just like cats that look vicious. I better start to lock in though, because there is not that much time left. And if they give us space, we have a couple timeouts. What I am really interested in is whether or not I should go for the 2-point conversion. I don't necessarily think I should, but we have to make that catch. That would have been massive for us. Instead, it's a missed throw. We get it out quick, and we're at the 10. Now, we saw that we had issues hiking this ball quick at the end of the last game. I'm glad we got this one off. We're going to be able to scramble. Duggar gets into the end zone. And here's the thing. If I don't like the look, we still have a timeout. I'm taking a risk here, but I don't want this game to head to overtime. They're going to bring in the pressure. And we're going to have an open receiver that catches the football. Ellison gets it done against the Beavers. He is going to help us win our second Pac-12 game of the season. We went undefeated in conference play, even though we just went 6-6. Really doesn't take much with the current state of the Pac-12, but we're going to fix it at the end of the year. That is going to bring some good news as well, as that caused another 4-star receiver to commit. It's not going to mean much compared to other conference championships in this rebuild, but we did win. And I know what you're probably thinking. This is the moment where I fire the coordinators every single rebuild. I'm going to get rid of our defensive coordinator, but on the offensive side of things, I think Danny's incredible. He's an elite recruiter, and he allows us to put more points into quarterbacks. As for Jimmy Rogers himself, I've not gotten to explore the architect tree on this game very much, but it's unlocked, and if we can get down to tier 3, chance to increase a random skill cap on each position is big. I feel like the coaches don't progress their levels fast enough on this game though, so we'll see if having that setting on fastest changes anything. For now, we're just going to see that Byron Brown won the Heisman Trophy for USF, so I love to see that as someone that used to live in Tampa. And our bowl game is gonna be against Alabama? This is ridiculous. Why would they draw us up against the Crimson Tide? How do they expect us to go in and win? We've been set up for failure here, but we're gonna give it our best attempt. And here's the thing. I couldn't move the ball against smaller schools this season. Did you think I was gonna do it against the Crimson Tide? As for our defensive coordinator options, I don't know how and why we're able to get Luke Fickell, but we are gonna try and hire him. It looks like he has decided to come to Washington State. The entire coaching carousel in this game still needs to be reworked. There are so many players at risk of transferring, by the way. I can't blame them, though, if they wanted to go somewhere else, and Boise State made it to the playoffs. That's a team that's about to join our conference. It is going to be looking pretty rough for the Cougars next season, just going off of the fact that we had at least 30 players graduate. It might be upwards of 40, and then we knew that another 20 players were going to transfer no matter what. At the end of the day, though, a lot of them just had normal development anyway, so even if we don't get any of them back, I'm not going to be upset. Before we hop into the transfer portal, we have to see what areas of this offense we're going to have to address. Julian Duggar stuck around. He decided he did not want to leave yet. Our conference prestige was good enough for him, and I think he had a pretty good freshman year. Obviously, the fear being with Washington State is he's just going to transfer out eventually. That could still happen. Luckily, Leo is not transferring out either because this sophomore running back cares about playing time. He's an elusive bruiser. He can get the shifty ability, which would be incredible. 86 speed, not the best in the world, but he has a couple years to improve. And if you were to look at our top 4 receiving targets, all of these guys are going to be leaving this team besides Devin Ellison, who didn't transfer out even though his deal breaker was not met. That was my favorite receiver that we had, so that's some good news there. As we go to the portal period, we picked up another 4-star. And honestly, we were able to get more than I thought. We signed 5 of them. We still could have a huge portal period as well. We got a kicker and punter for the future. We also have Luis Cooper, a 4-star contested special specialist from Kentucky that I think we're going to get, but we have a deal breaker here. Had to take him off of the board, but looking at all these transfers that are available to us, there's a couple 4 stars. The rest of them are going to be 3 stars. Malachi Nelson would be very interesting at QB. I'm not sure if I'm going to target him yet or not though, and as I look through a lot of the deal breakers on players interested, unfortunately, it's stuff that's not going to be able to rise much, and that means we can't go after a lot of these kids. At the end of the day though, I decided if they're going to be a senior, then it won't matter what their deal breaker is. We only need to keep them around for a season. I also ended up going a little bit heavy on those 2 4 stars plus Malachi Nelson. We'll see how that pans out, and all these other prospects that we have on our board, there's no talent. For a lot of them, their deal breaker is championship contender. So I'm definitely betting on us in the future. As you can see, for some of our top prospects, only one of them we're in first place for. I think Titus would be a great add. For a lot of these players, I'm also able to remove the hours that we're putting into them so we can put those hours in other places, hopefully allowing us to win some of these battles. For example, now we have a chance at getting Jacobs. By the time that signing day has come, it's probably going to look like we've gotten a ton of prospects. But along the way, there were some battles that we lost that are really going to sting. Now, I might be overreacting because we can still do fine without a 3-star transfer receiver. I just didn't think Buffalo was going to beat us out for him. Washington has always been able to take prospects from us if they want them. It's happened basically the entire season. Also, Malachi Nelson decided Arizona State was a better home for himself, but I still think our class was pretty impressive. We had 27 players in it. For a 5-year rebuild, you have to have good classes to have any chance at a championship, and it finished inside the top 33. For just a little comparison to how the rest of our conference is doing, Oregon State's was ranked 62nd, and if we look at the Mountain West, Boise State was at 43 at the very highest point. Now, for the players that we signed, if anybody stands out to me, not Johnny Price, he only has impact development, not 4-star Franklin Moon, he is normal development, but James Naylor is going to be nailing some other guys on the field because he is elite development. He's going to be a great thumper. And then Luis Copper, 89 speed, he's from Kentucky. I might just put this kid at tight end, but he could also be a really good receiver. After taking a second look at our tight end room though, we have just 2 seniors. One of those kids transferred in, so we do not have much help at that position. We are going to go ahead and make this kid a vertical threat. And I gotta say, both Javen Jacobs and JP Powell were incredible pickups in the portal for us at running back because they are 5 speeds faster than our original starter. The fun thing about manual progressions as well is I could make some of these kids quicker if I wanted to, though I think for the rest of this rebuild after this first year, I'm just gonna turn it off, which is something I might consider doing for future rebuilds as well. As nice as it is to have, it is so overpowered to be able to just go all in on one stat. Like if I wanted to get Julian Duggar's accuracy way up there, I could. Now I would like to see him get a little bit faster as well, so we're not going to max it out yet. And honestly, sometimes for the guys that I auto progress, they go up more in overall than what I would have been able to do manually anyway. Now with our first season out of the way, we could finally, realistically, bring back the Pac-12. This is what Washington State is going to be playing in the future. And I just have to hope that this roster is good enough to be competitive in it. We're going to have an 81 overall offense with a sophomore quarterback that could keep on getting better. But because our conference prestige with the new alignment is at a B-, he is threatening to transfer out. We have to get that up to a B by the end of the season. We're also barely gaining any coach points so far, but I said I wanted to look at the architect tree, so that's what we're going to explore. We want our receivers to get additional XP for in-game goals. I'd also love for their skill caps to start to disappear. With Luke Fickell also going down the architect tree, I was thinking it would be pretty overpowered if stuff like that stacked, but he is more defensive sided. Then if we take a look at our schedule, besides number 20 Washington on there and then number 24 Boise State, there's no other ranked schools. So I have some high hopes for what could happen in year number 2. There are 2 5-stars from the state of Washington. Neither of them are even interested in playing for us, but this pocket passer could be the future. It is a dream div, 2 different quarterbacks from the state to choose between. Connor Childs is a gem with 95 throw power, so I would most likely rather land him, but we are going to be going after both of these prospects. Then unfortunately, Reggie Grimm was a bust, so we're going to remove the 84 speedster from our board. Obviously, if we can start this season with a win, that would definitely help us on the recruiting front. We ended up putting up 48 points on the Rainbow Warriors, but they scored 51, beating us in overtime, which is really bad because even if we would bounce back the next week, we should not have dropped that game. It was a really bad one to lose, but we're going to see how we we can fare in the Apple Cup. Last year, we were a second away from being able to pull this off, which is why I felt confident scheduling 2 4-stars for a visit this week. We have an issue though. Going into this matchup, Julian Duggar dislocated his ankle and he's out for multiple weeks. That means James McCauley has been our quarterback instead, and he's not had himself an incredible day. On 4th down, he misses the target. And as time winds down in this one, I just don't think we're gonna pull off a comeback. We have not had any luck in this rebuild so far, which makes me think I'm not winning at all. It also has me aware how important it is that we get some defensive stops to even stand a chance, and on 3rd down, they dropped it. To pull this one off, we are literally gonna need a miracle. That was almost a bad throw. And for whatever reason, they are dropping their safeties way back, but I'm gonna try and split this cover 3 with that decision. We'll definitely take it. Our halfback screen got us out in space, but we have not done much with it. And we'll see if we can thread the needle on 3rd and 12. We had somebody open there, but our offensive line did not give us enough time. They're giving us enough time on this play, but I tried to throw it over that zone. It wasn't going to be possible. We had to get to the marker. Whenever you pass lead with a backup quarterback, you don't have much success, and that means we're 0-2 versus Washington in this rebuild. I said I wanted a winning record versus them, but that is seeming less and less likely. You also are just going to notice so many players want to leave, and I just know that we're also going to lose this game at Arizona. There's no way we win in Sim. We really need somebody like Connor Childs to commit and give us a chance, so we're going to be hard selling on him. We should also schedule him for a visit against UTEP. That game is going to be a crucial one for us, and I'm actually shocked that we pulled this one off against the Wildcats. Julian Duggar is still out for 2 more weeks though, so he's not going to get to play against the Miners. We're also missing our starting running back, Javen Jacobs, so it's not looking great. We are going to get locked out of one of these 2 quarterbacks just off of a deal breaker anyway, so we're going to remove the pocket passer, all in on Connor Childs. I am going to have to start parting ways with guys that we're clearly not going to get though, like Oregon's always going to beat us out for a prospect, especially when we lost a visit week. Headed into this one, UTEP's a 54 overall, and they haven't won a single game, which makes me question why I'm even playing it, but I think it's going to be worth it. Just the peace of mind of knowing that we are doing all that we can to secure the 4-star quarterback is a big deal. I mean, we should be running away with it, and that's exactly what this one has been for us so far. Though, a bad throw is going to cost us the first touchdown that we're going to give up unless we can stop this corner short. That should have been another score. Like, even Alexander Bean would have hit that throw. At least at the end of the day, we won 38-17. It was unfortunately not an impressive enough win to get Connor to commit. He is extremely close though. We just cannot have Washington forcing a recruiting battle next week, which is a real possibility. I'm extremely nervous, but we're just going to simulate this week, hope for the best. Utah State's 18 overall is worse. We should not lose. And on the other side of this, I was expecting it. Connor Childs has committed to Washington State. We have another great potential Cougar QB. Hopefully this one uses Cash App more than Venmo. That'd definitely be nice. We don't want our quarterback potentially gambling or anything. Julian Duggar, by the way, isn't going to be happy about this signing, but here's the thing. I think we max out his accuracy, and then his overall gets high enough to where he wants to transfer out after a year, and he finds himself a better home. It is just the way of the Washington State QB. A couple of these 3-stars, by the way, are gyms, which is why I have them so high up on our board. We can't beat out Colorado for this kid. We did get a 4-star gadget receiver from Texas though, David Lawrence. These are the types of guys I like to turn into running backs. And if you look at the bottom of our board, we're also giving ourselves a chance to sign multiple other 4-stars, though Illinois is going to give us a fight for this one. Listen, I have to do anything I can to try and save Washington State. So this is the filter I just look around at. I see if any of these players have interesting deal breakers that we could work with. And coming off of a 41-13 conference win over Utah State, I'm starting to like the Pac-12. Whoever decided adding Texas State was a good idea has gotten us an opponent that is 0-6, though I think these 2 teams share more in common than you might think. When I was doing my research on Washington State, there was lots of stuff about drinking, and then I saw something on Twitter today that Texas State as a college town has the most bars in the state of Texas. Those kids don't care that they just lost a heartbreaker 29-28. They're still going to have a good time this weekend. Fresno State 1-6. That's going to be another game that we can sim. I'll probably play against Boise State. It just makes the most sense. They're one of the teams that are still undefeated in conference play, though San Diego State's also one of those too. Just taking a quick look at the Bulldogs overall though, this game might not be a freebie, which is why it was crucial for Hudson Clement to have a big performance. We brought that kid in during the transfer portal period, and the reason our receiving room looks so good at the moment is because most of these guys came in as transfers. Here's the thing though, San Diego State is our next opponent, and this is a team that I was not personally able to beat. So I can't say it caught me off guard when I noticed that we lost to the Aztecs by 3 points. Boise State was another team that lost last week though, and this isn't a great thing because if we're going to elevate the level of our conference, we need them to have good seasons every single year. Currently, the new Pac-12 isn't looking like anything special. I should also point out that we have been locked out from both of these 4-star corners because our cornerback playing style dropped over the last couple weeks. It's just really frustrating to see because if that didn't happen, the class that I'm currently putting together would be extremely solid. Now we head to Boise State though, where this is one of the biggest games that we've had in this rebuild so far. I can't afford to lose it. If we don't make it to the Pac-12 championship, our team prestige will probably continue to drop. And this is such a bailout from a bad throw. We already know that we have a future past Julian Duggar though. He might not even be on this team next season. We're trying to get in a little bit of a halfback screen. The problem though is they just completely locked it up. I mean, I don't know what else I could have done there. We're gonna roll out to the left and try and scramble with him. He is going to get us the opening touchdown. And with the way our defense has played in this one against Maddox Madsen, I think we're going to be able to close it out. He might have gotten that ball out fast, but now they only have 3 receivers out there on the field. And even after scoring that touchdown, they still have to be able to get the ball back, which is not looking likely as we bust off a big one. The crowd here has fallen silent. And Pola Lassie is just going to keep on taking these carries. He has gotten us on a 3rd and 6. First down here, ends the game. We look over and we find Ellison going down the field, staying in bounds. That is why we love Devin Ellison. We have already been able to win more games this season than we did last year. I've already hopped into 3 regular season games, which means I have to simulate these last couple. And for the longest time, I thought we were just going to run away with this athlete power rusher, but out of nowhere in the last 2 weeks, Clemson has taken him away. We ended up making it to the Pac-12 Conference Championship game, though. San Diego State's ranked 14. I can't believe it either, since they're currently sitting at 9-3. 3 of their losses, I'm curious, they came against number 3 UCLA, UNLV, and San Jose State. They don't really have a strong strength of schedule. We don't either, though. We're lucky to even be in the Pac-12 Conference Championship because we took down Boise State. We actually lost to Oregon State to end the year. This score doesn't even make sense to me. We had a good offense all year, and then we put up 6 points. We held them to 7. It looks like Duggar did not play well. You know what, though? As long as we're in this game, I guess that doesn't really matter much. What I just realized, too, is we could win the Pac-12 championship in every single season of this 5-year rebuild. We already won it last year, and theoretically, from this moment, we should only be getting better, though we're going to have to make a play on the ground. Only up by 4 currently. I've been trying to see if there's any routes Julian Duggar could take for some big gains, but it's really been a lot of checkdowns. Neither offense has really played that well, but they bring in a blitz, we set our feet, and we are able to score again. San Diego State has never gone away in this matchup, though. On 3rd down, they take an underneath route, and they're going to be at the 10-yard line. We did not have the coverage stats to guard them there, and there's a gaping hole. We're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive if we're going to stop the run here. I'm going to bring in an extra guy to the box, which is going to make the difference. What a play. With a few minutes left, we're going to have a 2-point lead. And we're just going to hit our running back underneath. They decided not to guard him. Actually, I think that was one of our receivers. Anyway, 3rd down. I see our best guy getting open. No shot. They hit them with another PI flag because we just got unlucky with a bad pass. I feel like I've run into so many of those in this rebuild already. We're going to pick up the first out of the RPO. And I'm going to be honest, what do you want them to do against this formation here? If they guard the run, we're just going to go out. And that's going to allow us to pick up another 25. From there, we'd close things out by scoring another touchdown in the final seconds. It's pretty sweet that we get to take this trophy home again, and this time it feels like we actually earned it. I want to say so far this is a solid start, but remember, we only have 5 years to win a national championship. That time restriction always gets me caught up in these rebuilds. We'll see if we can overcome it. We are going to be playing Notre Dame in our bowl game. We cannot get an easy bowl. It doesn't really matter, though, on early national signing day. My focus was going to be in a completely different spot because we can see some of these dev traits, and it looks like we've got star on a couple of corners. Connor Childs is also going to have star development with his 95 throw power. We seriously have to make sure that he never transfers out on us. Notre Dame averages 11 more points per game. Is this going to even be close? I am afraid that I already know the answer to that question as we head in. And with 2 minutes left, we are in a spot where we have to score 17 points to come out on top. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just highly unlikely, which is why I wanted to throw up a jump ball. Clicking on and making a play for that did not work at all. Do not return this, please. I'm not really upset about it, though. Once again, we just got really unlucky with our bowl draw. If that Notre Dame team managed to lose one less game, they would have been a part of this college football playoff. And progress is important. It's really hard to tell if Julian Duggar had a better season or not, just because he threw for less passing touchdowns, his interceptions were about the same, but he played in less games. And then on the rushing side of things, Leo actually took a major step back because last year he had 15 rushing touchdowns. As for Devin Ellison, he was our #1 receiver 2 years in a row. The senior has got to go, though, along with some of our other top receiving targets, all 4 of them. It makes 6'4" Parker Livingstone potentially our best receiving target next season, but the thing about the sophomore is he might end up transferring out before that can happen. Apparently, our playing style wasn't good enough for him, but there's so many different players that could leave us, like Julian Duggar could too, that I'm not too worried about him leaving. Maybe I should have been, though, because the chance to convince him to come back is extremely low, and that means he is gone. Same thing with Julian Duggar. We didn't even get an extra season out of him. We saw that freshman quarterback, and he's all we're going to have. I mean, JP Powell's probably not going to stick around either. That could have been our running back of the future, unfortunately. We're just going to lose talent. Not a single player I tried to convince to stay ended up staying. Graduation-wise, we ended up losing a lot of really good starters there too. At least we put a receiver onto the NFL. That will help us. But I'll say this, it feels like we're basically starting over from scratch because we just lost our entire offense that got us to 9-5. I'm going to have to sit here, factor in what our roster will look like next season, consider that anyone that's a senior on the View roster tab right now isn't going to be here, but just looking at the pure numbers we have, this is not going to be a big team. I'm actually terrified at the moment. This portal period almost has to be perfect. The corners we're not going to be able to sign, so we had to remove them. And since we clearly have a need for defensive tackles, there's going to be some big names there that would like to sign for us, but I just realized we have 0 tackles and guards, so we're going to have to pick up the slack at that position too. The hardest part about this portal period is I could get someone that's ranked in the top 150 of the transfers, but if you look at his deal breaker, our brand exposure at Washington State can only go so high. And I would love for every player I sign from this point to be on our team in season 5, so I'm going to have to really sit here and plan for how I want to construct this team for the future. The best I've been able to do is try and build out a board with as many freshmen as possible, so after these highly rated 4-star transfer prospects, you're just going to see a lot of freshmen. These guys are interested in our school, so I'm hoping we can offer a scholarship and get them without putting any hours into them. The farther I get down my board, though, you're going to see I have to increasingly put more and more points into some of these kids because they have no interest in our school off of the rip. It is also very obvious to me that there are some massive team needs, like our offensive line is getting completely wiped out. I'm going to have to fill a lot of those holes. I'm probably going to be moving some edges over to defensive tackle. And to even have a grasp on which of those transfers we have a chance at signing, I have to be able to sim another week. Once I'm able to see what players we're going to have a lead on, what players we're going to struggle with, I'm going to have to readjust our board. And what it's caused me to do is go all in on freshman defensive tackle Jordan Crawford, as he is going to be young and we could also hard sell on him. Getting that hard sell wrong, though, would mess up everything. As you can see, we are going to get pretty lucky with 5'6" receiver Miles Coleman. All it took was 5 hours to be able to pull this guy off. A lot of these players we don't have to put many points into. Though for some of them, I can tell that other schools are going to be more competitive, so I'll continue to add some more hours. It really stinks to see some of these guys that we're going to lose out on because I wasn't able to put 50 hours on everybody, but it's better to find that out in week 1 and then readjust. Just returning over to the recruiting board, now we can be smarter about seeing guys like Marcus Deal, a defensive tackle that we need that nobody else wants to get. This guy could make a big impact as a senior. But there is something I guess I never really noticed until now. I could sort by previous team here and find all of the players that are still in the portal that wanted to transfer from our school and then re-recruit them. You could argue that's not the smartest thing I've ever done since they transferred out for a reason, but I wanted Parker Livingston to stick around. It's also come to my attention, I guessed Jordan Crawford's hard sell incorrectly, which means by the time that we switch it up, and this is correct, I don't think we're pulling off a comeback. You just hate to see it, and then all of a sudden, on one of our receivers, Miles Coleman, we just started losing the battle. battle. So that's one of the issues. If you're only putting like 10 hours a week into a player, you could always end up losing them. We also aren't going to get Parker Livingston either. SMU wants him, so we're going to take some of these guys off of our board, just readjust where our hours are at again so we can spend them wisely. During the transfer portal period, my only goal is to sign a full class, so anytime I can tell that we're going to lose a battle, I'm going to have to remove those players just so we can continue to fill up our board. And I think sometimes my obsession with signing a full class of 35 players can sometimes lead to us getting a few too many guys that we didn't need. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, we know some of these players are going to end up transferring anyway, so we want to get as many in as possible. And I wasn't too impressed with the dev traits I was seeing on these transfers until I found back-to-back star devs and then elite development on Jamal Cronrad. You know, to my surprise, we actually ended up having a lot of star dev players in here. I think we had like 10 total in this class. So we got pretty lucky on that front, even if it's saying that this one is ranked almost 10 lower than what we had last season. I still believe this class is better, and it's not even close because Connor Childs is coming in as an 80 overall freshman QB. Then we have an incredibly young and deep receiving core. We need guys like Malik Clark to progress really well with his 94 speed. He transferred in. We also got a second good running back, Devin Roche, in the transfer portal. The big challenge for me now is going to be figuring out how I want to move around these players. We definitely needed more defensive tackles on this team. That's why I signed a lot of edges. Defensive tackles were just harder to find. So we have a couple good options that we can move around to that position as well. The pure power archetype seems to convert without the overall dipping at all. I know our linebacking core isn't going to be the best in the world, but we got a guy like James Naylor. And this training results period is a big moment of truth for us. It's nice to see that Roche, the transfer running back, upgraded his dev trait, even if he's not with us for long. It definitely assisted in his progression. Courtney Vines, though, was the freshman running back with star development. He's got 89 speed already. I love to see that. Our whole roster itself, it is looking really nice. But because I'm not controlling how fast these players are increasing their overall, they're going to transfer a lot quicker because they're meeting these deal breakers that I have zero control over. So now we're really going to face the problem that Washington State faces in real life. Are we going to be able to maintain this good of a roster through these final 3 seasons? Our schedule is once again looking pretty light, but we need it to, or else we're not going to be able to maintain some of these players that we've recruited off a championship contender. I'd also like to note that the new Pac-12 is not the 5th highest rated conference. In fact, we are rated below the American Conference at the moment. So that's really unfortunate. I was hoping that we'd get some more respect. The prospects from Washington this year are not looking that good either. Only one of them will even consider our school. I truly believe that throughout Connor Childs' career, I'm going to be able to surround him with some pretty good players. He has no skill caps on power, accuracy, IQ, elusiveness, which is just incredible to see. He's going to be a great quarterback. I'm definitely going to try and get him more pieces around him outside of wide receivers this year. So offensive linemen, halfbacks, tight ends. Antonio Rainbolt was a gem. He cares about proximity to home with 94 speed from Oregon. But then there's 5-star DeJuan Grimes, and he's a north-south receiver. This is an archetype at running back I typically wouldn't go for, but he is 88 speed, and he's from Nebraska, so if they don't want him, then we're going to get him. That's the basic rundown of the class I'm trying to put together, though we got locked out of some players pretty early on. That doesn't bring me down too much, though. I am extremely excited to get into this next season because we should start with a couple of wins. I think we play Air Force after this. And then you know what I'm going to care about. The Apple Cup at Washington. Look at what our defense has done through these first 2 games, though. We have yet to give up a single point. I know that it's a very small sample size early on in the year. It's just crazy to see that as an average when you look at the team stats. All that has me feeling pretty good about this season so far. But this is the game that we have not been able to win, and I'm hoping that Connor Childs can change that. I will say the freshman is not off to a great start in this one. And the shadows in this stadium look terrible. This is just one of those situations where I know dynamic lighting's cool. I know that having the realistic stadium lighting is neat. But this is blinding unless you're on that side of the field. It finally got better by the 4th quarter, but by that point, the damage had already been done. We've been struggling playing on the road, though we're going to get this handoff out to Roche. He's going to get a huge carry for us here. And Devin Roche has taken over as the starting running back, but we just fumbled it. We just fumbled it. They're getting a touchdown. Just like that. I mean, that guy could not have been picked up by a blocker. There's no way. Watching it back, though, it was a really good blitz. They sent an overload to this side of the field, and we only picked up 2 of the guys. We couldn't get that one, too. I thought the blocking was going to look atrocious there, which would have been a lot more frustrating, but it actually looked pretty good. And with the halfback screen, we're near midfield. I really don't want to give up on this one yet. We're just going to scramble to make sure we move the chains. But after taking a sack on the next play, I'm not sure it's really going to matter. We can't make any hot routes. Their defense defense is playing us pretty well, and I mean, that's a terrible read. Terrible read. I don't know what I'm thinking there. We are literally just not meant to beat Washington. I can't keep watching them lift the Apple Cup. That was a really frustrating result right there. Now we have to head on the road to play at an SEC team, though our overall just went up. I don't know what's up with that. I'm trying to figure out who ended up getting their overall to increase after that last game, and I can't figure it out. That is the one benefit to having auto-progress players on, though. For whatever reason, if you turn this off, then your players won't progress throughout the season, gaining skill points. I don't really get that. If you look at this prospect right here, the 4-star tackle, Georgia just entered the battle with their 5-star pipeline, so I can basically guarantee we're not going to get him, but for a lot of these players, we are in some tight battles. Even Antonio Rainbolt, we're going to need to win our visit against Texas State whenever they get here in week 7. I don't think Nebraska is going to let up on a 5-star from their state, though. And after beating Vanderbilt by 21 points, seeing our offense flourish, we have to go on the road at Arizona, another one of our tougher games before we get into our conference play part of the season. Just to make sure we finish our non-conference slate at 4-1, I would like to play the Wildcats. But the last time I hopped into a game against a former Pac-12 school, you all saw what happened. Everything, and I mean everything, went wrong for us. Thankfully, that has not been the case here. We are able to get into the end zone. But here's the thing, after our defense gave up a touchdown as well, Connor Childs is going to need to pull off a miracle on 3rd and 13, and that was a great throw. We could also be running the ball as well. Devin Roche, despite being tiny, is definitely hard to bring down, and I feel like our offensive line has been doing a good job. You know, the second that I say that, we jinx it all, but we are able to hang on to it with Ansah. And from that point, we're just going to keep on running the football. Once we get into the end zone, going up by 10 points, that'll pretty much seal this game. And I really have been happy with Connor Childs so far. The real fear I have, though, is this kid's going to find a reason to leave Washington State before season 5. And the longer we get into the season, the more I'm just pulling out of battles I know we're not going to win in the long run unless we get lucky with the visit. I also had to take the running back from Nebraska off of our board, hoping that we get Antonio Rainbolt. There's just so many of these players where a hard sell isn't going to be effective, and we know the bigger school's eventually going to take over. This game against the Bobcats is a big deal for us since we have so many guys on a visit, and there are 57 overall. If we were to lose that game, it would be a major problem, but just off of the fact that the 4-stars are committing, I can predict that we probably won. It was a 26-point victory. If we look at the rest of our schedule, Boise State's going to be the team we want to play. Maybe it's Colorado State, but we're just going to have to sim up to this point. The Pac-12 has definitely not been that impressive so far. When we compare it to the American Conference, they don't have any ranked teams either, but we know that their conference prestige is higher. And it's going to be interesting to see where this team is sitting at a few weeks into the future. Well, we just kept on winning. Not that they're impressive wins, but at least we took care of business. Boise State is also ranked by this point, but Colorado State's sitting at 7-2. Plus Oregon State's sitting at 6-3. All 4 of us are undefeated in conference play. The other 4 teams in the Pac-12 are all sitting at 0-4. I don't think I have ever seen this happen before. What it means, though, is I have to choose wisely for which game I want to hop into, and I think it has to be this one. Boise State is obviously the highest overall team that's still on our schedule. It is safe to say that they still weren't much of a problem for us. We're able to throw for another touchdown here, but there's a flag. It's unfortunately coming back. But Connor Childs has already thrown for 4 touchdowns in this game. I want to get him his 5th, which we almost had. He has had such a good game, but they're getting off the edge quick, making it 4th and goal where we're just going to have to throw up a 50-50 ball and hope that we hang on to it. Like I said, Boise State was not as good as I thought they'd be. Maybe we've just done really well in recruiting, but I am expecting us to finish this season 11-1. Connor Childs has seriously been a major difference maker for us. But all that success has still led to us losing a couple of recruiting battles. We're not going to beat out Ohio State for a prospect. We knew LSU was probably going to win that one. Those things do not bug or surprise me. What I'm a little bit worried about, though, is what happens when we sim to the end of the regular season. Are we still going to be on top of our conference? I set the bar high with the expectation that we would be, and it turns out we beat Colorado State and Oregon State pretty easily on the road, so we're playing the Broncos again. We actually have a chance to get into the college football playoff. All we have to do is take them down, unless there can be a group of 5 conference champion that gets in. Tulane has a worse record than us, though. So I think we're in the clear. We win this game, we're going to get Washington State into the playoffs. We are now going for the Cougars' 3rd straight conference championship. Dropping this one would be a major disappointment. But so far, this one has not gone the way that I thought it would, which means we need to close out this first half with a touchdown. That was a big deal because, as you can see, in the final few minutes, we are down by 3, but we still have a fighting chance, and this is where we might just try and make a play with the 87 Speedster. see if it can do anything for us. I don't know what the computer's going to choose to progress on him, but I do hope it's more than just accuracy. I would love to have a quarterback that makes big plays for us on the ground as well as through the air. We threw that one back shoulder because I knew that corner couldn't see the ball was coming, and it worked. Malik Clark's a monster for that one, but what surprised me was with 2.5 minutes left on a 4th and 1, they decided to punt the ball back to us. I don't know why they didn't go for it, but a couple first downs will literally win us the game now. Connor Childs is looking pretty slow, but either way, we are on our way to taking home the Pac-12 championship. We just need this RPO to work out in our favor, and I might have needed to throw it. Luckily, even though I gave them an incredible opportunity, they haven't done much with it yet. But converting that 4th and 14 is a pretty big deal. If we're going to win this conference championship, we have to lock up in this final 50 seconds. Of course they get out of bounds. You just know the computer's going to go off in this situation. I mean, they're making our guys look silly. And nothing frustrates me more than getting dotted up by a kid that wears both gloves. The worst part is they still have one timeout left as well. They got this one out very fast. But that's the first thing that's gone right for us because they used a timeout. What are you doing? Why are you guarding the back of the end zone when there's someone right there? I need to know where forward was guarding. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, what are we looking for here? You just gave it up. That's probably going to cost us this Pac-12 championship. I mean, we're not getting anything. They're handling this very smart. They're backing their guys up, and we're going to try and roll out and throw above the zone here. It actually worked. We find Kindred. He's going to get out of bounds. I would like to get some more yards here, though. And why don't we take the seam? This might be really dumb to call a play in the final 5 seconds instead of just kicking our field goal, but I'm curious. Can we throw for it? We do, and we're going to pull off the comeback to win the conference championship despite having given up one like 20 seconds ago. What a game, man. This is the best Pac-12 championship we've ever won. That felt great to close it out. And the best part about all of it is it should put us in the college football playoff. One thing I've noticed, though, is even with all of this success, there's a lot of players that are going to be entering the portal at the end of the year. It's what we expected. It just makes it very challenging to win it all with Washington State. Dante Moore took home the Heisman Trophy. I'm sure the Ducks are going to be in the playoffs, but we're going to get the Bruins for our first game. Of all the schools we could have played, that's probably the best matchup we could have gotten, but Oregon is next up in the quarterfinals. And I have noticed I never look at the All-American list on this game for whatever reason. I always checked it out on my NCAA Football 14 rebuilds, but even after running the Pac-12, we didn't have that many guys on the first team. Not sure what's up with that. Connor Childs didn't throw for as many touchdowns as I thought he did, but he had almost 4,000 passing yards. He rushed for 540 yards, 7 touchdowns too. Devin Roche is going to be missed as well as a 1,000-yard rusher with 12 on the ground. He could have been a little bit faster. That did not get maxed out. It would have made him even more of a beast, but look at Trent Kindred. He is a freshman going off having 1,000 receiving yards. Malik Clark was the junior transfer with 900. Those are numbers I love to see, but we lost our offensive coordinator with the amount of offensive success we had, so we're going to have to find another. I really don't think that's the end of the world. Blake Anderson is perfect because he is just a full-on tactician, so he's going to boost up our offensive stats. As for early National Signing Day, we might as well see what dev traits some of these 4 stars have. I would love to see elite or star if they're going to develop to be anything for us by the time we get to that final season, and Antonio Rainbow is exactly that. We have 2 good running back options that are going to develop for us in the future that are young on this roster. It's about time that we get into the game of the week, though. And I know this isn't going to be college game day, but one interesting fact about Washington State is their flag is always flying at college game day. I think that's one I skipped over. To end this first half, it is all tied up at 7, but we are going to try and get in. I didn't want to settle for a field goal, but that might have been a mistake. We are just going to force this one to our slant, and he's in bounds. We have no choice but to try and get off another snap. We got to snap it. Come on. Snap the ball. Snap the ball. There is nothing more frustrating than being at the line and not being able to snap the ball. You all have seen it happen multiple times. And not getting any points there is going to greatly affect us in this game because with 6 minutes left, we're currently down by 2 possessions. Comebacks are still possible, though. We're going to see if we can thread the needle to our tight end here. If not, we're just going to scramble. The 2-point conversion's a little bit more difficult, though. We're going to see if we can beat the press on the inside with a slant, which we could, but they had someone else hanging out over there. Then UCLA scored again. I threw an interception. They would kick a field goal too, so they have been able to get a lot of points in a row. Basically meaning unless we get pretty lucky, we don't have much of a chance in this game. There's another fumble. There's another fumble. We just can't hang on to the ball. That's Connor Child's weakness. These strip sacks this season have been driving me insane. We just got blown out. At least it was still a really good season, though. UCLA was actually good enough to make it all the way to the semifinals. And I just realized we have 80 coach points that I could be spending in the architect tree, but I don't know how powerful getting tier 2 is. I think limitless on defensive backs would also be nice. We already got it for receivers. For the rest of these coach points, though, it's time to go to tactician. It is that point in the rebuild where we need to make sure we have the best team possible out there on the field, so we always take the stuff that's going to boost up the most players first. This is going to work on our offensive line. Our defense is maxed. Then we have Blake Anderson, who helps out on our offense, with Luke Fickle as our defensive coordinator. I don't think he's doing too much here, but that'll definitely help next season's team. Just look at all the players that are going to potentially leave our roster, though. I mean, Jeremy Kumar could have been one of the best offensive linemen for us this entire rebuild, but our playing style was just not good enough for him, so he's gone. We also have to keep in mind players like Devin Roche, Michael Smith, our 86 overall tight end. He is gone as a graduate. He didn't get an NFL opportunity. I always find that pretty interesting. We have a lot of persuasions, though, so we're going to hopefully get lucky. We basically won over none of these guys. I'm not going to get excited about a 74 overall linebacker, but apparently, despite not being our starting running back, Leo Pululasi ended up getting drafted in the 7th round. With a successful season, our team prestige has also raised up to 3 stars again like it was at the beginning. So that should definitely help us out in the portal. I find it funny that players like James McCauley would be willing to transfer back to the team that they left in the portal. I just think that's neat. Compared to last year, we definitely don't have as many needs on this team, but we only have 1 running back currently besides the couple that are coming in, Courtney Vines. So I'm definitely going to have to fill some holes there. For the players that transferred out as well, you know that we're going to try and sign Jeremy Kumar again, even if we don't start inside his top 10. I do find it really frustrating that now his deal breaker as a recruit is B for playstyle, but he transferred out because we didn't have B plus playstyle. It just shows that he's looking to go to a bigger program, though. That is the state of college football. After a week of recruiting, I can figure out pretty easily the players that I should have been putting hours into that I thought I didn't have to. And as the weeks go on, I can see some of these battles we're not going to win, and some of them are going to be extremely close. Even though we're coming off of a playoff appearance, I can understand why we'd lose some of these battles to Power 4 schools. The only one that would frustrate me is if we lost it to Washington. So I better not see that W logo as we scroll through our board. Ole Miss has taken this kid, though, and of course, they got the transfer defensive tackle. I wanted him, but he wasn't a necessity. We still filled some holes in our team that we had, and we signed a top 25 class. There is definitely a problem, though, with the fact that guys like James Naylor are already in 95 overall. We're not going to be able to keep some of these kids around, maybe even Connor Childs, if they keep on progressing like this. Fortunately for us, Connor Childs' deal breaker is playing time, so he shouldn't transfer out despite being really good. 97 throw power now. And just take a look at some of these jumps that we're seeing with this auto progression. Adrian Daniels went up 10 overalls. With a clearly much better team than we have had any other season before, I was expecting more players to be at risk of transferring out at the end of year number 4. But we might be able to have back-to-back really good seasons to end this 5-year rebuild. I don't think I'm really going to worry about recruiting high schoolers either, unless there's some studs from Washington. There was a 5-star quarterback. He just doesn't want us. And here's the thing. Somebody like Randall Bacon might be a gym. He might have 91 speed and a 50-50 ability, so we'll go after him. Just the odds of him seeing the field for us next season are incredibly low. We already have so many talented receivers that are going to be playing for us. Our opening game on this schedule is against Northern Illinois, where it should be no surprise that we were able to take care of business. We did the next week as well against an FCS school, but now we have back-to-back games that I'm going to want to hop into. We still have yet to win the Apple Cup, and then Oregon is a team that we almost played in the playoff last year if we would have taken down UCLA, so I figured we might as well get some good experience against them. I don't think losing to the Ducks would really hurt our ranking, but losing to the Huskies would. I just can't put these fans through another loss in this rivalry. But there's no guarantees of coming out on top. Currently, we are in a position where we're down by 7, but that is going to tie things up. We needed that right there. It's still the 3rd quarter, but it made a big difference, especially after we immediately forced an interception. So we're getting it back, and we drop it. On 3rd and 8, we're just going to look at our halfback angle route. We're going to dump this one off to Vines. And we have a field general ability on Connor Childs as well, which allowed us to know that this was cover 1 where we are gonna make it into the end zone. You might even notice some fans in the backdrop taking out their fireball shooters. They were pumped up to have a lead in this game, all until we gave up a touchdown just a couple of minutes later. The good thing is we seem to be able to continue getting open versus this defense. We're gonna throw right over that corner's head, go to the 10, and the air raid is working to absolute perfection at the moment. I could see Ansall getting wide open here if they go with man-to-man coverage. Since they didn't though, we're gonna try and make a play just by dumping this off. But there's a problem. Connor Childs is not in the game. Our star quarterback just got injured. On third down, we might be able to make it into the end zone. Thankfully, though, it says it's just leg cramps, so he will be back in the future. That would have been crushing if he had like a season-ending injury or something. On third and long, they're going to be short. Being determined to punt it back to us was odd as well, but we'll take it because we've just been running out the clock ever since. If we pick up a first down here, this game is completely over. We're going to pitch it out to Courtney Vines, and Courtney Vines has ended it. It feels so good to finally beat Washington. This is well deserved, and let's hope we can do the same against Oregon. For the first time in this rebuild, we're getting the game of the week during the regular season, so we got College Game Day going to Eugene, Oregon. And I'll tell you this, our flag's going to be flying there, and hopefully we're about to take home the dub. I wasn't expecting this team to be as good as it is in season 4, but we have the guys that can route up these corners. It actually stinks that Clark's going to be a senior after this season, but he's going to be a beast for now. We can't forget either that last season, Oregon had Heisman winner Dante Moore. Now they have Julian Lewis, who must have transferred from Colorado, but he just hasn't been as good. That's been great for us, though. We're trying to close this one out. They just dumped it off, which is going to make this 3rd and 7. And I've got some high hopes here. They're not going to have that open. He's going to try and scramble, so I'm trying to send somebody, but no one went. He would inevitably get them in the end zone, but he left us a minute for us to respond, which is plenty of time, especially if we're already at midfield. That was a great start here, and we're actually gonna hand it off. I wanted to see if Courtney Vines could do anything with that. I have just noticed that this is going to be cover 2, which makes me want to try and split these zones. The problem is I don't think our hot route's going to work, and they actually covered exactly what I was looking for extremely well, but we had all the time in the world. And that is what having a great offensive line can do for you, because this one's over. They can try and ice us, but this is one of the easiest kicks in the world. They're not going to block it. It is over. And with the Cougars getting this win, it's looking like we could go undefeated during the regular season. I mean, facing teams like Air Force, we're just not going to lose that. It would take a really fluky result. And look at Jason Ansah setting the Washington State single game receiving touchdowns record in that matchup. He broke the Pac-12 record as well with 5 touchdowns, and that's taken him up to our highest overall receiver as an 89. He also has his brother on the team, Garrison Ansall, so I'm hoping both of them stick around. They have a lot of potential. Garrison cares about playing time, so we should be able to keep him. We should work on his blocking though. And then Jason, his brother with star development, also cares about playing time, so they are very similar. His route running could get a lot better alongside his hands, and we have been able to work our way inside the top 10. After a bye week though, we're gonna have to start playing our conference games. That Air Force one was 47-0, by the way. But looking at all these matchups, Boise State's the only one I'm worried about. We're just going to go down the tactician tree, make sure our offensive line is maxed out, and then start working on our tight end and receiving stat boosts. Then we should be able to just simulate all the way to week 11, so that's what we're going to do. Sure enough, we won all of those games, with the closest one being San Diego State. This is the same thing that happened last season for us. And everything looks about identical, except there is not a 4-way tie with 4 teams sitting at 4-0 in conference play. Instead, we beat Boise State. We're going to lock ourselves into the conference championship. I also had to check the Heisman race, where I noticed they had a receiver, Cameron Bates, that is leading the way. He has 1,500 receiving yards through 9 games, 18 touchdowns. He is unstoppable. Then Oregon's Julian Lewis is up here alongside Connor Childs, who's only thrown 1 interception all season. The Heisman race is coming down to a bunch of teams in the Northwest. Hopefully we can make a stand with this game. But playing on the road, knowing that Boise State gave us a great fight in that conference championship, they could win. If there's a team that can seem to handle Connor Childs pretty well, it's them. But that tackle just made this a massive 4th and 3. There's no way that they just handed it off either, because they're not going to win. We are just way better up front. It seems like we're going to be able to dot up their zone coverage too. And it is time for Courtney Vines to go to work, as our blocking is looking solid. I've also noticed with this numbers game, we have the numbers over on that side of the field, so we're just going to go out there immediately. At some point though, the timeouts have to start coming out, out, and they're going to get a hand on that ball. With a first down here, we could end the game. I could tell that they were going to go with some form of cover 3, but I think we're just going to scramble for this. They weren't ready for a run out of Connor Childs. This doesn't guarantee we're going to win our 4th straight Pac-12 championship, but it's looking likely. And I guess I completely forgot about Randall Bacon. Apparently, he still decided to go to Washington. That doesn't matter too much, though. Last season, I was a little bit surprised that we didn't lose a game in Sim that we probably should have. We're going to see if that is any different this year. I'm just used to getting fluky results in this rebuild. If you watch the main one, we lost so many games that we shouldn't have, but we're sitting at 12-0. Connor Childs also went off against Oregon State for 5 touchdowns, maybe moving him up in the Heisman race. And we are getting San Diego State in the Pac-12 championship. That is really surprising to me. Boise State fell off that hard that they lost 4 conference games, but if they have struggles this year and next year, it's just going to make it easier for us to get back to the playoffs. And with an extra game for Connor Childs, I think we really might win the Heisman. We have to play well here, though, and this is a team that gave us one of our closest games of the entire season. I do wish this wasn't in Allegiant Stadium, though, just because we haven't gotten a single snow game using the Cougars. That's really all that I want. I think we're going to be able to take the top off of their defense on this play as well. I am trying my hardest to refrain from throwing interceptions, though. I do not want to cost Connor Childs the Heisman Trophy. We're going to have our slant, so he has 2 passing touchdowns early on, and I think it's just going to keep on getting worse for the Aztecs as they just brought the pressure, but they're not stopping us. It is pretty safe to say that we are going to run the Pac-12 this entire rebuild. They were able to hold us up there, though, and we just threw this one, and he couldn't turn around in time. I mean, look at the way we're trying to end this first half. We're going to throw this one, and it is going to be caught. I don't know why the guy standing right there didn't make a play. But if you watch that play back, you'll notice Connor Childs was not out there. He dislocated his knee. That's right. TJ took over, and we had no issue winning the Pac-12 championship. But we're going to be missing our star quarterback for the college football playoffs. This cannot be how Connor Childs' story ends. He's going to win the Walter Camp Award, but is he going to win the Heisman Trophy, or is he going to get snubbed by the Boise State receiver? He takes home the Maxwell. How many other awards are there, though, before they tell us who wins the Heisman? It is Connor Childs. I really hope that he can just suck it up and play against Penn State as well. The fact that we didn't get a first-round bye really hurts. But unfortunately, with a dislocated knee, he is out for 2 games. If we got that first-round bye, we might still have a chance at winning the championship, but I don't see how we would get through Penn State and Clemson. It's going to be a real challenge without our Heisman Trophy winner, who threw for 39 touchdowns and 1 interception. This ratio is beautiful. Then on the rushing side of things, Courtney Vines went for 18 touchdowns, 1,000 yards. I don't think he's going to want to transfer out either. This is actually so refreshing, too, to look through all of our top receivers and see that all of them want to come back. 18 touchdowns for Jason, then his brother Garrison had 6. Malik Clark is obviously going to be missed. This is the one kid that's a senior, so he's gone no matter what, but he was a monster. I have to figure out, though, which of these quarterbacks do I want to trust against Penn State, and honestly, I really like the idea of putting Grimes out there with his 88 speed, but TJ Stanley was the kid that took over in the conference championship. He is the slowest of these 3, but if we look at his accuracies, I think he's the most accurate. Not that he's any good either, he's just going to be our best option. We average 43 points per game, while Penn State only averages 36. And what we need out of our defense in this game is the carry of a lifetime. We get to host the playoff game, though, which is nice. There's just no snow coming down. Well, so far, we have not put up like any points in this game, but we're trying to get a field goal before the end of the half. And they're just sitting back there in cover 4. We got to throw this one away. I was sitting there trying to roll out like Connor was still out there in this game. We're going to throw up a 50-50 ball and just hope for the best. We can't come back to it. It is not looking very good for getting a field goal before the end of this half, but that throw is off target. Our defense actually did a pretty good job of making sure this one didn't get out of hand. TJ Stanley just had a pretty rough game. That's a pick. We are going to have to find a way to cope with this loss, and I think you know the best way for us to do that. The fans already started midway through the second quarter. They knew that we were not going to beat Penn State, and one injury just changed this entire season, because what could have happened if our Heisman winning quarterback was healthy? That is a thought that is going to haunt Cougar fans forever, especially since Oregon won the national championship, a team that we knew we could beat. And it's going to be very interesting to see which players want to leave this team after last season. There's going to be a couple guys like Courtney Vines that got up to an 89 overall Now he wants to declare for the NFL draft instead of coming back. Then Malik Clark is obviously going to be gone as well. But actually, for the players that I thought might enter the portal, we knew James Naylor was already going to leave. The rest of these guys don't upset me that much. We've been able to convince a few of them to come back, which is just going to help out with some of the numbers. A good transfer portal period is going to make a big difference as well. It just really stinks that Courtney Vines ended up leaving early because he wasn't going to until he progressed. Having auto progression on instead of being able to manually do it is definitely a game changer that I'm having to get used to. He had a good season though. He had a reason to leave, and with him off of the roster, we might need to get a portal running back because Colin Wilson, I don't know how he'll progress, and Antonio Rainbow with his 94 speed's good, but he's only a 75. After the season that we just had, portal interest is definitely pretty high, though we don't need a tight end. We don't really need a free safety either. And we're going to see if some of these updated school grades can carry us to getting some prospects that we typically wouldn't. For a lot of these highly rated guys though, to even have a chance at getting them, we have to make sure that we guess their hard sell correctly. And I think I was able to bring in a few solid transfers, but I don't know how many battles we lost. There were some, like for tight end Avery Dingle, where I just had to accept that the kid from Washington was going to go for the Huskies anyway. We didn't get any of the good transfer receivers that were 4 stars either. We didn't get a quarterback, which makes sense. Didn't get a 4-star running back. I mean, there's just loss after loss. At the end of the day, though, I think Pat Morton's a solid backup if Connor Childs happens to get injured again. We can also see that Rashard McCarry came in as a transfer. He's going to be our 2nd string running back. But then there's players like David Lawrence and Adrian Daniels that I've recruited as gadget receivers that I might want to move over to that position too. It feels kind of dumb to do, but since David Lawrence is our 4th best receiver, he's moving. And I always end up doing this where I just over recruit at the defensive back position because we clearly have way too many besides at strong safety. With training results coming around now, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know how the computer is going to handle progressing our players, but they've taken us up having a 93 overall quarterback, which, you know what? This is something I can work with. Connor Childs did not max out his accuracy. I wish they would have done that. Instead, they focused on his IQ. This awareness is only going to help in sim. Maybe that's what we need though. David Lawrence has also gone up to a 91 overall. I don't remember this guy's name. Who is this? Never mind. I figured it out pretty quickly just by looking at his number. Even though his jersey's pulled up way too high, he was a receiver that we moved over here, and his stats are still pretty good. It is going to be interesting to see how we do through the air without having a 99 speed receiver. I'm just used to recruiting players like that. Our tight end is going to be a beast. And basically, this entire team's good, so once I encourage some transfers and get the lower overall players off this roster, we're easily going to be a 99. Honestly, I think it was a more enjoyable experience to just leave auto upgrades on. I didn't have to spend 30-45 minutes each offseason progressing our whole roster, and the computer did a really good job with them as well. They aren't trying to cheese around the deal breaker system either, so sometimes we're losing players that we typically wouldn't have. That just makes me want to leave on auto upgrades for most of my rebuilds the rest of this year on College Football 26. We're going to start the season playing at UCLA. It's not going to be as tough as us facing Oregon last year, but this is a team that beat us in the playoff. And this being a night game with their run out has been pretty sick. We have a quarterback that is going for back-to-back Heisman trophies though. I've never done that before. It'd be really cool if we were able to do it with Washington State. It'd also make the most sense. And the longer this game's gone on for, the worse it has gotten for the Bruins. I'm trying to close it out with one final touchdown in the last 15 seconds. We'll see if UCLA can handle our offense down inside the red zone, and they can't. Connor Childs is an absolute monster. I am so thrilled that he decided to stay at Washington State. There was no other way for this rebuild to go. Of course, we were able to find an amazing quarterback with the Cougars. And what I'm going to be most interested in is if we can go undefeated during the season again, are we going to be able to get a top 4 seed in the playoff? I'm already expecting that once we get past the Apple Cup, we should win the rest of our games. We might not even need to worry about Boise State this year because we saw how they finished out last season. Down inside the goal line, I mean, we have all the time in the world to hook up with our tight end. One thing about Washington though is they have been able to put up a really good fight. They catch that in the end zone. And the stadium pulse is currently through the roof as we try and respond back against them. Honestly, if we could just communicate with our receiver over there, we would have a touchdown. At least I think we would. The hot route finally got in, and we have thrown it up is we're going to come underneath. The Ansall brothers are almost impossible for defenses to stop. We're going to throw that one on his cut. And guess what? Washington is not having much success at all, though it took us a while to get a sack. We got everybody ready to drop back on 4th down. All I have to do is make sure our corner route's not giving up. We're going to have to make a hit here. We do. And with this result, we're going to win another Apple Cup, which is nice. I just can't guarantee that by the time we're done simulating to the Boise State game, that we're still going to be sitting undefeated in the country. At least it looks like Connor Childs isn't injured because he's still having success. And sure enough, with some blowout wins over a lot of these teams, we are going to be 9-0 as we head into our final 3 matchups. Connor Childs is not in the Heisman race though, so he must have thrown a lot more interceptions this season. But that's not really the case. He's thrown 3 interceptions versus 1, but he has 39 touchdowns and he still has 3 games left. What I figured out is the real reason he's not in the Heisman race is he hasn't had as much success running the football. So we're going to hop into the game against Boise State after boosting up our tactician stats and see if we're able to scramble it in at least a few times. If there is one team we have played a lot in this video, it's got to be Boise State and then of course Washington. Those have been the 2 schools that have just been really hard for us to take down. Chance for a rushing touchdown here. And I don't care that we fell short of the end zone. I am literally going to run 4 quarterback sneaks in a row. I am almost 99% sure this is how to win a Heisman Trophy. It's dumb, but if you don't get quarterback rushing touchdowns, you won't be in contention. It is really hard to get those scrambling touchdowns though whenever they set some contains on the field. To end this first half, we're going to try and just run straight up the middle because we knew that there was no quarterback spy. And ultimately, it is just really easy with as good of an offensive line as we have to always find somebody that's open and we should go out of bounds. Like I said, a few rushing touchdowns in this game will greatly help his Heisman chances. This would be a lot easier if this playbook had some more quarterback runs. Ultimately though, we continue to get it done with him and we're going to keep it on this read option for another rushing touchdown. If that performance doesn't get Connor Childs into the Heisman race, I'm not sure what will. He had 6 total touchdowns. We cruised to a win. And sure enough, what did I say? You get a certain amount of rushing touchdowns with a quarterback and then you're in the Heisman Trophy race all of a sudden, all the way up to number 1. It's dumb that it works that way. But even Deuce Knight for Oklahoma would not be here. He cannot stay loyal to SEC schools. Just a little side note. But he would not be in the Heisman race if he didn't have 7 rushing touchdowns on the ground. I think that's why as you get farther and farther into Dynasty, you'll notice that quarterbacks are winning the Heisman Trophy less and less because a lot of the time, they just aren't rushing for enough touchdowns to win it. And I'm not sure I have ever felt more comfortable in a rebuild simming all the games in the final season where we have to win it all. This team is literally just that well constructed though. Of course, we're going to be playing the Broncos again. And assuming this goes the way I think it will, we're winning the Pac-12 every single year of this video. No matter if I'm able to win a national championship or not, I think I've done Washington State pretty well here. And as we approach the end of this first half, I was trying to get a rushing touchdown. It didn't really work out, but I have a feeling that this RPO is going to get pretty open, which it didn't. I've made some decisions in this game that really haven't been the best, but we're always going to have someone open. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of patience. And we have had this trophy every single year now. I really thought the Pac-12 was going to be more competitive than this whenever we did the realignment. To be completely fair though, we have built an extremely good team. Connor Childs with his 50 touchdowns, 75% completion percentage, one of the highest completion percentages I have ever seen, should be taking home the Heisman Trophy here, which he is. Then we have Oregon in the first round of the playoff. For whatever reason, we're only the 7 seed. That probably has to do with the fact that our conference prestige has us rated below the American Conference still. But it is what it is. I think either way, win 3 or 4 playoff games, we should have a really good chance at doing it, especially with an extra stat boost to Connor Childs. Here are his season stats. Rushing wise, he had another 7 touchdowns on the ground, but David Lawrence, moving this kid over from a gadget receiver was amazing. He had an incredible season, then Trent Kindred did, so did Jason Ansall. His brother had 480 receiving yards, 3 tutties. Just lots of success all around though. If we're going to win it all, we got to go through Oregon and Notre Dame. One thing I'm curious about is even though our roster is 13 overalls higher than Oregon's on paper, what does their roster actually look like? Because I have a feeling that our 2 teams are going to be pretty similar if you just compared the overalls. They have a 99 linebacker. We're going to have to be on top of things here, but I might reload into it until we can get a snow game. Well, I've tried about 6 times now, and I just can't get any snow. That is one thing about Dynasty. If it's going to be a sandbox, I would love an ability to just change the weather for each game. It could have made this matchup a lot more special, especially since it seems like we're going to come out on top with no issues at all. In the final couple minutes, we just got a massive stop on 4th down. We already have a 2-possession lead, but they knocked that ball loose to get the ball back, and they've been driving down the field ever since. The odds are not in their favor, that's for sure, especially if they're going to throw an interception to Boone. And you know what? We're going to lateral this back. I want to see if we can disrespect them and return this for a touchdown. Come on, make a play out of this. I'm so bad. Coach is going to be screaming from the sideline watching his player do that. Either way, we've come out on top. And I'd like to think that Notre Dame's not going to give us a problem either. They've already lost 2 games this season, but they're a 94 overall. And we are no longer going to have any home field advantage. I can't really say that's made the biggest difference in this game, considering we're scoring with ease. I definitely thought that Notre Dame was going to play better, but they haven't. It feels like anything that we want, we're basically able to throw. We're about to get another touchdown. And this one was extremely ugly for the Fighting Irish. Just to show you how good Connor Childs has been as well, he has set the Pac-12 career passing touchdowns record alongside any Washington State record that you could name. There's just no way that he's not a first-round pick at the end of this season. And of the 4 teams left in the playoffs, number 1 undefeated Oklahoma scares me the most. I'd say Georgia's pretty good too, but we just saw last week that a 94 overall for Notre Dame meant absolutely nothing, which makes my hope that the Bulldogs aren't going to be that impressive in this one. We've already played at the Rose Bowl this season. We have never struggled this much at the Rose Bowl, though. We're currently trailing by 17 points. It's not looking good. That should have been picked. The entire offense is just having an off day, and we've had so few off days in this rebuild, we weren't ready. There is still time to come back, though. We're just going to get out the halfback angle route, go to the 7, and this time we have that exact same concept worked into the other side of the field as we take our drag. I am in such a hurry-up mode for a reason, because I know we don't have that much time left in this game. If Georgia was smart, they'd be taking a lot of time off of the clock, and on 3rd down, they're going to test my user. And I thought they were going to throw the drag, so I just broke. The longer this goes on for, the more that I'm panicking, but that was a terrible run. And being down by 13 with 3 minutes left is not the end of the world. Ideally, we're just able to score a touchdown before the 2-minute warning hits. But we should have possession caught that ball. We're going to go with the halfback screen here, and we're still getting caught. This is not good. They're probably going to bring a lot of pressure. We have running backs underneath that were prepared to hit. And fortunately, Mokari gets us enough. Now they're coming out and pressing on one of these sides, which I find to be pretty interesting. I would have loved the chance to top them off. They're taking the top off of their defense, but we didn't get that opportunity. Now we're just going to throw this one up. And that's a big problem. It is 4th and 10. We're waiting for a crosser to get open. They're playing that, but we still hang on. There's not much hope left in this game, but there is still at least some. And I'm very interested to see what type of coverage they go with here. That could have been it. I don't love how their defense is rotating all around and stuff before each play. It's kind of confusing me. We're just going to scramble. We have to slide quick. We just should have never put ourselves in this position in the first place. You see how long it has taken us to drive down the field with this roster as well? We have to do that a second time? What the heck? Something has clearly broken here. I mean, this just looks awful. What? I mean, even look at our tight end after the play and the way he is bending his head. This is so goofy. He didn't even have the ball in his hands there. We're going to put Ansah on a slant. We just got to get in, and that's what we needed. What they are most likely going to do is just run it 3 straight times, but they already got me with the RPO. I was trying to push him out of bounds. Why is the computer getting so smart on us here? They're passing now. Do they realize how much time is left? Push him out of bounds. No. No. That's the game. I don't know what they were doing, but it worked. It worked. I was committed to the run. We didn't even make it to the championship with Washington State. I have failed to rebuild the Cougars. We did not win the 5-year rebuild. It's been so long since this has happened as well. Maybe the program's cursed. It turns out that the Sooners were not the most feared college by the time we got to the semifinals. We lost to the eventual national champions, and this 5,000-yard passing season, 59 passing touchdowns, another 7 on the ground is just going to go to waste. The kid from Washington was so close to achieving everything he could have ever dreamed of in his career, but unfortunately, even after being a first-round pick, he never won a national championship. It is cool to see the Ansah brothers get drafted. I just wish in this 5-year rebuild I could have done better by Washington State fans. I had more chances to win it all than I'd normally get because we made the playoffs so many times, but it never worked out, so our trophy room is not going to consist of a natty. And after failing this 5-year rebuild, let me know in the comments, what's a team you think I can succeed with a 5-year rebuild so I can build up my confidence again?